Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my UFC 307 fight predictions. This is fight week. It is Wednesday. We have a couple days until the fights. I'm going to go in, do my predictions on the early prelims, and the main card, as well as giving you some props, some stats, what have you, just knowledge, and some of the parlays I think I'm going to be betting. If you use the link in my bio on YouTube, you can get 30% off the Dub Club membership to Trident DFS. It has insane picks. Just last week, there's 15 X's hit, 12 X's, just insane profits that we've been getting over there. Go ahead, check that link out. You get 30% off. All right, now let's get into the predictions. Court McGee versus Tim Means. First on the early prelims, I'm going to have to go with Court McGee. I think 39 versus 40. They're very both older fighters, a lot of experience. Court McGee he's coming off, crap. I just had his record pulled up, my bad. Yeah, they're both coming off losses in this fight. One is a knockout loss. That would be Tim Means coming off a knockout loss to Uros Medic, which not a terrible fighter to lose to, although I do think Uros Medic is a very high-level welterweight, even though he lost to Earl By. Going over to Court McGee, he's coming off a loss to Alex Morono. Not finished, though. It was a decision. However, his last two fights before that were both knockout losses. And lost to Matt Brown, who knocks out a lot of people, and Jeremiah Wells, who is a insanely powerful welterweight. I will say, Court McGee, I just love the fights he's had. I know these are a while in the past, like we're talking about Sean Strickland in 2017, Whitaker in 2013, Calvin Gastelum 2013, but I mean, these are still experience that he has. Tim Means has fought some good guys as well, I'll say, but Tim Means, I just don't see him fighting guys like Whitaker. He fought Bilal Muhammad and went to a split decision, but I really am just favoring Court McGee here. I just think, even though he's the underdog, I just think he has the tools to get it done. Next fight, Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. I'm going with Carla Esparza here. I'm going with the experience, and I like Carla Esparza. I mean, she won a fight against Rose Namajunas, and although it was very boring and we saw nothing, and then she promptly got destroyed by Zhang Weili. But I just favor that experience level. We've seen Tisha Pennington go against higher level people. Like, she lost 2 split decisions back to back, Mackenzie Dern and Tabitha Ricci, and then before that, the wins she has are lower level fighters in that women's division, like Marina Rodriguez, I think, who's fighting. Or wait, actually no, she lost to Marina Rodriguez, and Zhang Weili. She beat Sam Hughes, which is like Sam Hughes is like a mid-tier fraud check level woman MMA fighter. But I have to favor Carla Esparza. I just think champion-wise. Next up, we got Ryan Spann versus OSP. I'm really leaning towards Ryan Spann here. I love that. His power. He's got crazy KO power. Sometimes he makes the wrong decisions in fights. Like when he was fighting Anthony Smith, thought he should have won that. Just land more leg kicks. I really thought he was going to win that fight, but got robbed, in my opinion. I know he's coming off a loss to Bogdan Guskov, but Spann really had him respecting his power. I mean, Guskov usually fights hands down. His hands were up most of this fight, and he got clipped a few times. Guskov has a pretty good chin. I don't think St. Prue's chin is going to be able to take a really clean punch from Spann. I mean, we know that OSP's got that win. He's coming off a win against Nzechukwu, but Felipe Lins knocked him out, Tanner Boser knocked him out, and Jamal Hill knocked him out. And he had some trouble with Shogun Hua in the past. That was 2 years ago, so Very old Shogun, might I add. So I'm really leaning towards Span. I'm going to go with Span, knockout round 2. Next up, we have Ihor Potieria versus Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida is pretty heavy favorite here, minus 395. And Ihor Potieria is the plus 310 underdog. My money is on Cesar Almeida by knockout. After I saw Michel Pereira land a nasty punch to drop Potieria and then sub him out cold, I really have to favor Cesar Almeida striking because I think Cesar Almeida's kickboxing is better and better than Pereira's. Cesar Almeida had Kopylov grappling a lot in their last fight, and I like Kopylov striking. I think he's a pretty solid striker. So I'm gonna have to go with the favorite here, Cesar Almeida by knockout. Round 1. To be honest, I think he'll be able to make some reads early, get him out of there. Potieria is a bit of a glass cannon. He hits very hard as well. He's a very dangerous fighter. But I favor that stand-up experience. And I hope he's been working on his takedown defense because I think Ihor might mix in some wrestling. Official prediction, we're going Cesar Almeida knockout round 1. I think it's going to be an early finish just like his last fight, Potiera's last fight. He's going to get caught early and then Almeida's just going to pour it on. Going on to the next fight on the prelims, Austin Hubbard versus Alexander Hernandez. This is at lightweight. So we got Alexander Hernandez kind of coming back up to his original weight class, which I like. I like that. He's a pretty skilled fighter. I mean, if you know his whole run where he knocked out Beneil Dariush and then he had a pretty big fight against OAM, and he won that fight. Then he fought Cerrone. Cerrone, obviously, that was a bit of a fraud check. But, lost to some guys like Drew Dober and Thiago Moises, who are good, and Renato Moicano, who are all good fighters, right? And that he's kind of decided to go down to 145 after that Moicano fight, and he lost to Billy Q, who's a pretty skilled fighter. And then he went back up to lightweight, fought Jim Miller, won against Jim Miller, and then he decided to go back down to 145 and fight Bill Algeo and Damon Jackson. And I did think he won that fight against Damon Jackson. It was pretty close, but neither here nor there. So I'm going to have to favor. I know Austin Hubbard is coming off a win over Mikhail Figlak. I'll just say I don't like the talent profile as much of Austin Hubbard versus Hernandez. I think Hernandez is more explosive, blue chip kind of, like, you know what you're getting with him. Austin Hubbard is a bit inconsistent with the performances. He's been shown to be able to beat these guys that are below UFC level. They're close to UFC level, and then he fights those sort of like mid-tier lightweights like Mark Madsen, who's now retired, or Vince Fischel, who's retired, I'm pretty sure. Those guys he loses to. I'm going to go with Hernandez, and I'm going to go with decision. I think he's just going to win by decision. Next up, we got a women's strawweight bout between Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Lucindo. Number 6 rank versus the number 14 rank. Yasmin is the favorite, and I'm favoring Yasmin Lucindo. Sorry. Yeah, I'm favoring Yasmin Lucindo. I think it's more likely she's able to win by knockout. But I could also see it kind of going, to a decision, like most fights. Uh, what more do I say? Yeah, I'm favoring Yasmin Lucindo in this fight. I think the Brazilians are going to have a good night. Just in general, like Cesar Almeida should win, and we'll get to the main event. But yeah, we'll go with Yasmin Lucindo. Next fight up, a very, very high level fight, very underrated fight, I would say, but I think people actually are excited for this fight. We got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Numancia Buckley. We got Wonderboy coming off that Shavkat loss, and we have Buckley coming off that win over Nursultan Roziboyev, which was a crazy good win. I mean, he rocked him in that third round, using the wrestling, able to wrestle down a guy who's really big too. I mean, Roziboyev is like 6'3", 6'4" maybe, and Buckley's only 5'10". But we have Wonderboy, who was able to do pretty decent against Shavkat's takedowns. Obviously, he did get submitted, but he looked all right defending the takedowns. I will have to say, in terms of striking, I'm going to favor Wonderboy. And in terms of takedown defense, I'm actually going to favor Wonderboy too. I really think his takedown defense is actually kind of underrated now. Because, oh, well, he got taken down by Bilal Muhammad. And he got taken down by Gilbert Burns. I mean, Gilbert Burns was able to take down Sean Brady, who's a great grappler. And Bilal was struggling to take down Sean Brady. And Bilal taking down Wonderboy. I mean, Bilal was taking down Leon pretty much at will in that fight. So you can't really fault Wonderboy for that. And I think Buckley is improving his game. He's improving his takedowns. He's obviously a super powerful guy. He rocked Roziboyev. But I'm going to have to go with Wonderboy. I just, like I said, I favor the experience. I know he's older, but he really doesn't show his age as much. And I'm going to favor him just keeping it on the outside, being able to stuff the takedowns, tit for tat, karate point fighting, his style, and he's going to be able to land some big kicks. I know we've seen Buckley kind of struggle against the guys that are longer than him. Their reaches are actually, Buckley has an actual longer reach than him. I think the kicks and stuff like that for Wonderboy's karate stance, that's going to be his main weapon. It's not going to use his hands as much because he got that 1-inch disadvantage. I'm really favoring Wonderboy here, although I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Buckley win. Mostly by, I know I'm looking at the odds on the UFC and they think there's a 72% chance we got Buckley to win by knockout. And Wonderboy, I mean, we did see him get rocked by Kevin Holland, but he was able to recover. Kevin Holland's long arms, very long reach. He hits pretty hard as well. But I just see that the mobility of Wonderboy is still there, and I just think he'll be able to move out of the way of those big shots and just find a way to, just work his striking into the fight and dodge the big punches. So I'm taking Wonderboy by decision. Moving on the main card opener, we got Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I'm going to have to go with, very controversial here. I think I'm going to go with Roman Dolidze to win this fight. I know Kevin Holland has got a black belt, and I know he's got the longer range. I know he hits hard, and Dolidze's chin isn't that great. But, you know what? Now I'm kind of looking like I want to pick Holland. No, I'll stick with my original pick. I think the physicality of Dolidze. I mean, this is a guy we just saw beat Anthony Lionheart Smith at 205. I really think he's got the reach disadvantage. I think he's going to be trying to use that strength, that power to get him to the ground. Showed a little bit improved grappling, right? He was able to take down Anthony Smith, and I really like him just controlling Kevin Holland for multiple rounds. So I'm going with Roman Dolidze to win by decision. I don't know if he'd be able to get the submission. He might get a submission, or if anything, it could be a ground and pound stoppage. Just he gets Holland in a bad position and is able to just start wailing on him. But moving on, we're going to Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison minus 900. I agree with the odds makers. Kayla Harrison will use her wrestling, her judo background, and ragdoll Ketlin Vieira. And I don't see this going very far. Maybe second round submission, third round, not even. First or second round stoppage. I don't even know. Whatever she wants, whatever Kayla Harrison wants, she's freaking insane. She's very strong. I mean, just the physicality of Kayla Harrison is something that, and the size, the physicality and the size is just something that I think women in the UFC aren't really used to. Just the mass she has is insane. She's really good at taking people down. So I'm going with Kayla Harrison, and I'm gonna say, let's go with ground and pound. Let's say ground and pound knockout. I like a ground and pound. Going on up, Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. I'm going with the old dog, Jose Aldo Jr. I really was impressed with that win. Jose Aldo's last fight against Jonathan Martinez. That was awesome. I mean, he showed actual improvements, which was great. He looked better than he did before. I mean, he's still incredibly skilled for how old he is, the experience. He's very, very skilled. We saw him kind of go back to more of those leg kicks that he did. Starting to throw more leg kicks again, throw some oblique kicks, just looked great. Wobbled Jonathan Martinez at times. And Mario Bautista, I have to say this. Ricky Simone, I do not rate a Ricky Simone win. I'm sorry, brother. Ricky Simone is a very low IQ fighter. I mean, his last fight against Vinicius Oliveira, this is Simone I'm talking about. He should have just been throwing leg kicks once he saw him limping on that leg. He just didn't. So I don't rate that win a lot. I mean, Simone is losing to almost every higher ranked type of guy in that division. I mean, we saw Song Yadong. Going on to his last fight before that, Damon Blackshear versus Dave Batista. Mario Batista. I thought Damon Blackshear won that fight, and that was on a week's notice that we saw Damon Blackshear give him a very competitive fight. I don't understand how they gave a unanimous decision to Mario Batista. I really thought it was a pretty clear Damon Blackshear win. So I don't see the level of skill required to beat Jose Aldo. Like somebody like, Merab, who just hugged him up against the fence. Or somebody like Peter Yan. I haven't seen enough. And Aldo did not look old and washed. So I got to trust Jose Aldo's going to continue. I mean, he looked improved, which is insane to say this far in his career. He looked better than he did against Merab. And before that, he beat Rob Font, who still good. I mean, he fraud checked Adrian Yanez. So I'm picking Jose Aldo to win this fight I'm going to go with Jose Aldo to win by decision. I think. Let me think a minute. No, we're going to change it. We're going to go knockout. I think he'll get a knockout here. He's the underdog. He's the minus 124 underdog. Very close odds, but sorry, Mario Batista. I just don't see enough. I just don't see that next level skill from you to beat Batista. And I'd like Jose Aldo to get a higher ranked fighter if he wins this, because fighting number 11 as a former champion, somebody who was in the top 5, just sucks. Going on up to the co-main event, the women's bantamweight title fight. Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. I can't believe Raquel Pennington is a champion right now in the United States of America in the the Ultimate Fighting Championship. This is somebody whose best win was Caitlin Vieira, a split decision, right? Her last win was a split decision. Then she fought Mayra Buena Silva, and Mayra Buena Silva gassed out in like 2 rounds and kind of gave up. Um, yeah, I mean, you look at her record, 16-9. That is not what you want to see from a champion, right? And Juliana Pena, if you look at who she's lost to, her losses are Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes. I mean, she beat Amanda Nunes. If you're best, and Jermaine Manami, former champ. So, I totally favor Juliana Pena here. I know she's been inactive for 2 years. She's coming off a 2-year layoff. But I just think, in terms of just overall skill level, and in terms of overall pressure, ground ability, I'm gonna go with Pena. I just think she choked out Amanda Nunes. She made Amanda Nunes give up basically in a fight, and she showed enough dog to just stick in there when she was getting her ass whooped by Nunes in their second fight. So yeah, I think Pena will win. I really do not rate Raquel Pennington as a champion at all. So let that be said. I will eat my words if somehow Raquel Pennington wins. But I see this fight going to... I'm going to go with... I want to say a sub for Juliana Pena, but I really think it will probably go to decision, if anything. So I'm going to go Juliana Pena, just winning by decision. Pretty dominant victory for her. Moving on to the main event, we have Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. But before I get into that, I'm going to just say, looking at Khalil Roundtree's last fights, we got a knockout win over Anthony Smith. Very close fight, actually. 1 and 2 were pretty close. When we saw round 2, we saw Smith kind of landing on Roundtree. And then, obviously, gets the knockout round 3, so that's a win for him. Before that, knockout win over Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus moving down from heavyweight and coming off a knockout loss. Really kind of dumb matchmaking for Daukaus, if you think about it. I mean, but then his fight before that, Dustin Jacoby. Robbery, in my opinion. I mean, pick whatever round you want to give to Jacoby. I thought he won that. And we have Alex Pereira, obviously, just destroying people right now. I mean, he looked even better against Yuri than he did the first time. Knocked him out in the beginning of the second round. And then before that, he knocked out Jamal Hill. He's just been destroying people. Although it has to be said that this breakneck pace that he's fighting, and, he's calling out Dricus, and he's saying he wants to fight Dricus and all this. And I don't even want to say it because I don't hope this happens, but this could be an Adesanya versus Strickland situation where he's kind of overlooking the guy he's in front of. It's a guy, I think Strickland was number 8 when he fought Izzy as well in Perth. Overlooks the guy and pays the price for it and just puts out an uncharacteristic performance after kind of being really, really active. But, I don't want to pick based off an assumption because I don't see any evidence besides just some, circumstantial similarities between Izzy's fight against Strickland and this fight. So I'm going to just go with skill. And I think in terms of striking skill, we've seen what Pereira does to great strikers. We've seen what he does to good strikers. And I know people are going to say, well, Khalil Roundtree fought Gohan Saki and he knocked him out. And Go on, Saki was in glory just like Pereira. I don't think that version of Saki, fighting Roundtree and this version of Pereira right now are the same, same level at or same point in their careers, I should say. Because we obviously have dominant Pereira who's beating champions, is a champion, versus Saki who's kind of coming in later in his career. I just favor the striking of Pereira, and I mean Roundtree said he's not going to wrestle, doesn't want to wrestle, he hasn't wrestled. So I'm not favoring. There's nothing in this matchup that favors Roundtree besides just the underdog mentality, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to prove everyone wrong type of thing. And maybe that's a bad thing for Pereira. Maybe he doesn't, maybe you don't want to be a favorite like that. But I'm going with Alex Pereira, and I'm picking him by first round knockout. I think if he was able to find the openings on Yuri, a very, very unconventional striker, pretty quickly, I think he's going to find openings on Khalil Roundtree, who's more of a conventional Muay Thai fighter. I don't think Pereira should have too much trouble. I mean, unless Roundtree just decides to just oblique kick the crap out of Pereira and it works somehow and he just breaks Pereira's leg. I just don't see like a tool that's really, really going to put Alex in danger. I mean, he's dealt with insanely dangerous strikers before, and he's been able to come out on top. So, that being said, going with Pereira, going by knockout round 1. Other than that, guys, that is going to be it. Have a good one. Peace out. Good night.